Hey, there we go. Hey, we are live on My Political Mind. Hey guys, how y'all doing? Think I need to try and share this real quick. So, I'm going to figure out how to do that. Ba 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 ba. All right, let's see here. So let's see. Let's go live. Bow, 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 bow. Ba 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 da da da. All right. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome to My Political Mind. I'm going to stream the town halls and I'm going to go back and forth between the two of them. And this should be fun. So let's see what happens. Welcome to My Political Mind. Okay, guys, tonight we are going to watch the town halls between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. First up, we are going to go to the Trump town hall. Here we go.
Joe, we have heard some horrifying statistics. Columbia University
So,
study saying that
I think they're just doing
8
some
million
little talk
people
beforehand.
are considered in poverty since May. Of course, one of the big
I need to
issues
look
here
up
is that
the
pandemic assistance, some of the benefits
Joe
that you
Biden
get
town
have
hall.
run out. We're hearing that some 4 million
Maybe that one's
job
actually
losses that we
started.
thought were
Let's go.
temporary might become permanent.
Change your shampoo right now.
No movement or no deal from Congress yet. What position does that put us in heading into
This
the
looks like
election,
it's
heading
not
into
really
the
doing
end of the
anything
year?
either yet.
What does that mean for people who
So
are out of
we'll
work
see what
and need
happens.
help?
Oh, looks like I got
Well,
some
there is supposedly a sliver of hope come Monday
something
when the
going
Senate,
on right
the
here.
Senate,
So
comes
let me fix
back,
that.
And their plan, according to Mitch McConnell, is to debate and come to some sort of compromise with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the White House and come to some sort of agreement before the election to deliver more of a stimulus and a sense of relief here. But this is a very, very painful time. And what we do know is that a lot of the unemployed people that we're talking to, they see a tale of two economies here. They see people who are doing well, not being affected, taking advantage of the work from home luxuries and being able to continue their lifestyle, while so many millions of people are, again, threatened by eviction, unable to get food on the table, and patronizing food banks for the first time ever. So you're really looking at an increasing gap in this economy, and it's not one that's going to be fixed very easily, certainly not overnight, Allison.
By the way,
No, Joe, and it's not hard to see why people put jobs in the economy at the top of their list of concerns heading into this election.
Exactly.
Joe, always a pleasure to see you, even when the news is
when you
grim.
chat,
Thank you so much.
it should come up here.
Thanks, Allison.
So I hope to see you guys chatting tonight.
Up to cast their ballots early. More than 17 million people have already voted, according to the U.S. Elections Project. We're seeing long lines at some polling places, with voters in some cases waiting hours to get in. Blaine Alexander joining us now from Georgia's largest polling location in Atlanta. Blaine, how are election officials there in Georgia, the Georgia government, handling the crush of early voting this week?
Well, Allison, they're handling it much better now than they were at
They
the
need to get
beginning
on
of
it.
the week. You know, earlier this week, in some places, we saw some very long lines. People, in some cases,
Either
waiting
of
for
these
hours to cast
going
their
live
ballot.
yet?
The good news is that as the days have progressed, we've seen those
Nope.
wait times significantly decrease. But let me walk you
Man,
through
I don't even have a
what this
drink.
looked like. Remember, this
I
is
need a
the very
drink.
first week of early voting here in the state of Georgia, and immediately records were set. You know, just in the first 2 days of early in-person voting, more than 240,000 people came out to cast their ballot, and that, Allison, is on top of the nearly 500,000 people who had already cast absentee ballots. So certainly record-setting any way that you slice it, which is why on Monday we saw some people waiting in line. I spoke with some people who had been waiting upwards of 4 hours to vote, some people in some places 7-hour wait times. So that's significantly decreased. Two factors for that. One, the tremendous turnout, but two, technology. Just some of the technology that was being used to check the voters in was not necessarily able to process that many people, but much better now, Allison.
Blaine, glad to hear things there are improving. Blaine Alexander in Atlanta with the latest on early voting. Thank you so much.
You got it.
And thanks so much for joining us, President Trump.
I'm actually surprised. I'm actually surprised that NBC decided to broadcast Trump's town hall tonight. I hope you guys can tell me how this sounds.
This is an NBC News special presentation of Today
Here we go.
with Savannah Guthrie.
Tonight, Donald Trump in the arena. His first primetime network appearance since falling ill with coronavirus.
I'm feeling great. I don't know about you. How's everyone feeling?
I'm feeling powerful!
The president faces our questions live and hears from voters about their concerns in the battleground state of Florida.
It's great to be back in my home state, Florida, to make my official return to the campaign trail.
Home
Just
state?
19 days to go. The president makes his case.
My goal is to fight for you and fight for your family.
From NBC News, Decision 2020, President Trump Town Hall.
Can y'all hear that all right? All right, guys. If you want to chat, please log in to YouTube and chat. Your chat should show up in this area right here. So I just need to know. I need you guys to chat so I can see if it works.
But after the president contracted COVID, the debate commission announced it would have to be a virtual debate because of health concerns. The president then said he would not participate in a virtual debate. At that point, Joe Biden scheduled a town hall tonight in Pennsylvania on another network, and now the president is doing the same. His own
Looks like Joe
town hall
Biden's already getting
with the
questions.
same venue
So
format.
let's go over to Joe Biden real quick.
Real concrete policies that haven't been done by the current administration.
Well, first of all, going back, the fact is that the president was informed how dangerous this virus was. And all the way back in the beginning of February, I argued that we should be keeping people in China. And we had set up in our administration a pandemic office within the White House. There were 44 people on the ground. I suggested we should be seeking, and I didn't hold public office. I was a former vice president. I suggested we, in fact, ask to have access to the source of the problem. And to the best of our knowledge, Trump never pushed that. All those 44 people came home, never got replaced. In addition to that, I pointed out that I thought in February, I did a piece for USA Today saying this is a serious problem. Trump denied it. He said it wasn't. We later learned that he knew full well how serious it was when he did an interview with Bob Woodward. And at the time, he said he didn't tell anybody because he was afraid Americans would panic.
What can't you hear,
Americans
Ren?
don't panic. He panicked. He didn't say a word to anybody. Then I wrote a piece in March about what I thought we should be doing to take hold of this, using there's an act.
My
that was
desktop
passed a long
audio
time
is
ago
showing that
allows the president to go into a business.
you
and
should be
say,
able to hear it.
Stop making this and start making that. And it took a long time for him to even institute that, to get ventilators and so on. And so the point was he missed enormous opportunities and kept saying things that weren't true. It's going to go away by Easter. Don't worry about it. It's going to all, when the summer comes, it's all going to go away like a miracle. He's still saying those things.
Before you go to the future, can I follow up on looking backward just a little bit? You did have an op-ed in January where you warned to the seriousness of the pandemic, but there's no record of you calling for social distancing,
stream audio,
social gatherings, mandatory masks.
Not back then.
In January, February.
No, in January, February. No, that's correct. There wasn't. That came at the end of March, and then I laid out a detailed plan relative to
I'm showing that you can
in June and July. And I talked about, by that
hear
time, the
it.
science was becoming clearer and clearer.
Stream audio
of
is
how
there,
this
but
was
very low.
spreading so
Okay,
rapidly.
so I'll turn it
The
up.
president kept denying that. If you notice, from March on, I stopped doing big meetings. I started wearing masks. So it was at a time when the science was saying, and his key people, Dr. Fauci, were saying, you should be taking these precautions. So what we should be doing now, there should be a national standard instead of leaving this up. Remember what the president said to the governors. Well, they're on their own. That's not my responsibility. The governors can do what they need to do, not my responsibility. It is the presidential responsibility to lead. And he didn't do that. He didn't talk about what needed to be done because he kept worrying, in my view, about the stock market. He worried if he talked about how bad this could be unless we took these precautionary actions, then, in fact, the market would go down. And his barometer of success in the economy is the market. Thirdly, what we didn't do is the president
That's weird. I've never had a problem with
had
that
an opportunity
audio
to
before, so that's kind of
open
weird.
and allow schools and businesses to stay open.
I just set up the
they got the kind of help they
OBS.
needed. So the Congress passed
So I don't
a couple
know if
trillion
there's some
dollars
kind
worth
of
of help.
if there's something
And
that
what
I
happened
need
was
to-
most of that money, significant portion of that money, went to the very wealthiest corporations in the country. Didn't get to the mom and pop stores. So you had 1 in 5. 1 in 6 minority businesses closing, many of them permanently, people being laid off. And then what happened was when the first tranche of the first round of money for unemployment, enhanced unemployment, went by, he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. And to the best of my knowledge, and I mean this sincerely, I can't think, I've been around for a lot of presidents, and you know a lot of presidents in a crisis. I don't ever remember one never calling the House
are
and
you,
Senate,
Rand? Do I know
Republicans
you?
and Democrats
Are you
together.
random?
Let's look forward a little bit.
you're
You
random,
said that you would lock down the economy.
or if I know
only
you,
if
that's
the scientists
awesome,
said
but-
it was necessary.
Well, by the way, that wasn't
I'd
the
like to
context.
know.
They said, would I lock down
I'd
the
also like to
economy-
know why your
the
chat
economy of
isn't
science said
showing
so. I
up
said
on
I'd
my
follow
screen, 'cause I
science.
got it set up to where you're supposed
But
to
I
be able
don't
to see
think
the
there's a
chat,
need to lock
so-
down.
But I want to press you on that point.
Sure.
You've been in the Oval Office for 8 years with President
I
Obama.
might just
He
have
would
to throw a
always say
chat
that
box on there.
only the hard-to-solve problems get to his
get
desk.
there.
What is most likely to happen is the scientists will disagree. The scientists will disagree with the economists. So the question is, how are you going to decide this? Who are you going to listen to? And how can you contain the pandemic without crushing the economy?
Well, you can contain the pandemic by being rational and not trust the economy. For example,
Oh, cool.
I laid out a plan how you can
Maybe
open
you could
businesses. You can open
Okay.
businesses and schools if, in fact, you provide them the guidance that they need as well as the money to be able to do it.
That's
What's
awesome,
happening
Rand. I really
now is we
appreciate
know,
the
for
support.
example, if you can open a business
I'm
and you can have
very,
a sign
very
on the
new
door
to
saying
this,
it's safe to
so-
come in. That's why people
I didn't
aren't
have
going
any
anywhere
problem
when
with
they're
OBS
open.
Studio.
And say, because you
Hold on,
have
let me
social
lower this
distancing,
quick.
you have
I didn't have any problems with OBS Studio, but I just switched over to Streamlabs OBS, and apparently I'm having a little bit of audio issues, so I really do appreciate your support.
That's a really
And,
critical piece that he didn't do. Testing and tracing.
I don't see end
and you
screen
make sure
either.
that people are equipped. Going
Wow,
to school.
that's
You know, we initially said
it's not
the
good.
government
Are you
initially said they're
trolling
gonna
me?
Provide masks for every student and every teacher. Then they said, no. FEMA said that the president or whomever said, no, that's not a national emergency. Not a national emergency. We need more teachers in our schools to be able to open smaller pods. We need ventilation systems changed. Well, there's a lot of things we know now. And I laid them out in some detail. Now, again, when I say I laid them out, I'm not an office holder. I'm running for office. It's not like I'm still vice president or I was a United States senator pushing this. So I don't want to say I. But we did lay out exactly what needed to be done.
Are you saying I need a
And take
compressor
look.
on the
We make up 4% of the world's
on
population.
the desktop audio or the microphone audio?
We're in a situation where we have 210
I thought I already
plus
had a
thousand people
compressor.
dead. And what's he
on
doing?
my
Nothing.
microphone
He's still not wearing
audio.
masks
I didn't
and
think
so on.
about
We're getting some
putting a
more questions
compressor
on
on my
COVID. Next one
desktop
comes from
audio.
Kelly Lee. She's from Philadelphia.
Thank you.
Republican. Voted for Donald Trump in 2016. Undecided now?
Hey, Kelly, how are you?
Hi, Mr. Biden. My question is about the coronavirus vaccine,
Yes.
or potential.
See,
Senator Harris
I've got chat
stated
box
that
set
she
up too, but
absolutely
it's not
would
showing
not
up on
take
my
a vaccine
display,
from
so
President Trump.
I don't understand.
And of course, we all know it's not President Trump that would create this vaccine. It would be doctors and scientists that presumably we all trust. So my question for you is, if a vaccine were approved between now and the end of the year, would you take it? And if you were to become president, would you mandate that everyone has to take it?
Two things. Number one, President Trump talks about things that just aren't accurate about everything from vaccines. We're going to have one right away. It's going to happen and so on. The point is that if the body of scientists say that this is what is ready to be done and it's been tested, they've gone through the 3 phases, yes, I would take it. I'd encourage people to take it. But President Trump says things like, everything from this crazy stuff he's walking away from now, inject bleach in your arm and that's going to work. I'm not being facetious.
So
He's
I just
actually
realized
said these
that.
things. And now Regeneron is the answer. That's going to cure everything. There's 500,000 doses. We got a couple, we got
settings
more than
didn't
2 million
transfer.
people. And so,
my filters didn't
and
transfer
if
to
you
the
notice,
Streamlabs OBS.
Most of the companies who are developing these vaccines are working. They're making real progress. I meet with
my ratio's
4
out of
leading
10 now.
scientists at least twice a week in the beginning, 4 times a week, giving us the detail on what kind of progress is being made. And right now, they do the right thing. When they run into a serious problem, they halt the test. They don't continue until they figure out what the problem was. They're not there yet. And the most scientists say there's not likely to have a vaccine that would be available until the beginning of next year, into the spring
Yeah,
of
I
next
had a
year.
suppressor on the last
in the
one, too,
meantime,
though.
what I worry about is the same thing with Regeneron, which is a useful antidote.
This
not
is what I'm
antidote,
looking
a
at
useful,
here.
Tool. But what's happening is there is no plan to figure out how to distribute it. How many, we have 500,000, vials of it. Well, we don't have all the testing equipment. We don't have all the ability to get it to the people who need it. And what we should be doing now, and allegedly it's happening, but I've not seen it yet, nor the docs that I've talked to seen it, there should be a plan when we have the vaccine, how do we distribute it?
And once we get it, if it's safe, if it's effective, will you mandate its use?
I'll get there. Hold on.
The answer is depending
I'm putting
on
a
how
noise suppression on
clear
too.
There's vaccines that have a very positive impact.
Trump is definitely much more entertaining, so let's go to Trump.
More deaths. Do you support herd immunity as a strategy?
I don't like this audio.
Let people get sick.
The cure cannot be worse than the problem itself.
It's got to be the
We
stream.
did the right thing. We were expected to lose 2,200,000 people and maybe more than that. We're at 210,000 people. One person is too much. It should have never happened because of China. It happened because of China. And you have to get that and understand that. But it shouldn't have happened.
Sorry about
we were
that.
expected to lose. If you look at the original charts from original doctors who are respected by everybody, 2,200,000
That 2 million figure, though, is if you literally did nothing. The 2 million figure is if you did absolutely nothing, it would be 2 million. The question is, should the deaths be better than 200,000 when, relative to the rest of the world, we have a worse trajectory?
Ren, you are speaking way over my head, bro.
I left Pennsylvania. We won a big case in Michigan because that governor has a lockdown where nobody but her husband can do anything. He can go voting and do whatever he wants, but nobody else can.
At
the
10.
fact is, we're winning all these cases because it's unconstitutional.
This is what I'm looking at.
I think they're doing it for political reasons. But the
My
fact
attack's
is,
out
the
of
cure,
6.
You can't let this continue to go on with the lockdowns.
Well, most
and I
of the
believe
states,
that on November 4th, you're going to have a lot of these governors. Look at what's happening to New York. New York is a mess. They lost almost 40,000 people. They have a lockdown like you've never seen. Now they're open. It's like a ghost town.
Let's get
and Savannah, it's very important. People are leaving New York by the thousands. And you're going to have a hard time ever building it up again. So that cure.
NBC
that
really needs to
cure
get
that
this
you're talking
audio
about,
down. Like, it sounds,
can't be
doesn't
worse
sound good.
than the problem. The problem is a bad problem.
We've got more questions on COVID, so let's drop it for now. We were supposed to, as mentioned, be watching you on a debate stage right now. We're not doing that, so let's clear up a few things from the last one. You were asked point blank to denounce white supremacy.
I don't think I want
a
a sidechain on here, do
you
I?
didn't. You asked some follow-up questions. Who specifically? A couple of days later, on a different show, you denounced white supremacy.
No,
My question to you is,
you've done this to
why
me and
does
everybody.
it seem like
I denounced white supremacy, okay?
You did
I
2 days
denounced
later.
white supremacy for years, but you always do it. You always start off with a question. You didn't ask Joe Biden whether or not he denounces Antifa. I watched him on the same basic show with Lester Holt, and he was asking questions like Biden was a child.
So this is a little bit of a dodge.
Are you listening? I denounce white supremacy.
Okay.
What's your next question?
Do you feel, it feels sometimes you're hesitant to do so, like you wait a beat.
Here we go again. Every time, in fact, my people came, I'm sure they'll ask you the white supremacy question. I denounce
Someone's here.
white
Hold on.
supremacy.
Okay.
And
I'll come right back.
frankly, you want to know something? I denounce Antifa, and I denounce these people on the left that are burning down our cities that are run by Democrats who don't know
While
what
we're
they're doing.
denouncing, let me ask you about QAnon. It is this theory that Democrats are a satanic pedophile ring and that you are the savior of that. Now, can you just once and for all state that that is completely not true and that disavow QAnon in its entirety?
I know nothing about QAnon.
I just told you.
I know very little. You told me, but what you tell me doesn't necessarily make it fact. I hate to say that. I know nothing about it. I do know they are very much against pedophilia. They fight it very hard, but I know nothing about it.
They believe it is
If
a
you'd like me
satanic cult
to
run by the deep
study the
state.
subject, I'll tell you what I do know about. I know about Antifa, and I know about the radical left, and I know how
radical
violent
left.
they are and how vicious they are, and I know how they
So
are
vicious.
burning down cities run by Democrats, not run by
Republican
Republicans.
Senator Ben Sass said, quote, QAnon is nuts and real leaders call conspiracy theories conspiracy theories.
He may be
Why not
right.
just say it's
Can I be
crazy and
honest?
not true?
He may be right. I just don't know about QAnon.
You do know.
I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? You've
Let's
retweeted
face the
them.
whole show. You start off with white supremacy, I denounce it. You start off with something else. Let's go. Keep asking me these questions.
I do have one more in this vein.
Let me just tell you, what I do hear about it is they are very strongly against pedophilia. And
Why
I
is
agree
Trump-
with that. I mean,
Trump's
I do
sitting
agree
a very
with
weird
that,
way.
and I
Is he
agree
wearing
with
dress
that.
boots? He's wearing dress boots.
No idea. I know nothing
You don't
about
know
that.
that? Okay.
No, I don't know
You
that.
just this week.
Trump's actually not
Okay,
wearing like
just this
oversized
week you retweeted
clothes
asking
for
me
once.
about
Like, he got fitted.
Antifa? Why aren't you asking me
'Cause you
about the
just-
radical left?
because you're
Why aren't
volunteering
you asking Joe Biden questions about why doesn't he condemn Antifa? Why does he say it doesn't exist?
Because you're here before
Antifa,
me.
no, excuse
Right.
Antifa exists. They're vicious, they're violent, they kill people, and they're burning down our cities. And they happen to be radical left.
Just
Radical.
this week, you retweeted to your 87 million followers a conspiracy theory that Joe Biden orchestrated to have SEAL Team 6, the Navy SEAL Team 6, killed to cover up the fake death of bin Laden. Now, why would you send a lie
I know
like that
nothing
to your
about
followers?
it.
You
Can I-
retweeted
That was a
it.
You
retweet. That was
retweeted it.
an opinion of somebody,
But-
and that was a
But
retweet.
why retweet it?
I'll put it out there. People can
I
decide
don't
for
get
themselves.
that.
I
You're
don't
the
take a
president.
position.
You're not like someone's crazy uncle who can just retweet whatever.
That was a retweet, and I do a lot of retweets. And frankly, because the media is so fake and so corrupt, if I didn't have
Crazy uncle,
social
that's
media, I don't
hilarious.
call it Twitter, I call it social media, I wouldn't be able to get the word out. And the word
word
is,
is
and you know what the
false. My
word
fiance's
is? The
over
word
here.
is very simple. We're building our country stronger and better than it's ever been
a guy
before.
was.
And that's what's happening, and everybody knows it.
Okay, we
You know
got a
what
bunch
else
of
we're
questions
doing?
for you.
We're winning in a lot of states.
Okay.
We're winning in a lot of states. You're gonna
Let me
see that.
ask, okay,
Tech-
I'm glad you brought up the
tech-
election because I do want to ask about that. That's another
Trying to
kind of
help me out.
leftover item. A lot of people have asked
you're
you,
trying to help me
will
out.
you accept a peaceful transfer of power? You have said
Pretty cool.
repeatedly, the only way we lose this election is if it is rigged. Now, that is simply not true. The fact is either candidate can lose fair and square without
Sure we
ballot
can.
fraud.
Of course,
it's like
Will
talking
you
over my
accept
head.
the results
Win or
of the
lose, that's
election?
the way I want it to be.
Technical
But when I see thousands of ballots right? Unsolicited ballots being given out by the millions, and thousands of them are dumped in dumpsters. And when you see ballots with the name Trump military ballots from our great military, and they're dumped in garbage cans.
We could go all night, which we won't, but we could go all night, one by one, a single case, a single day. You're talking about 150 million votes. Your own FBI director says there is no evidence of widespread fraud.
Well, then he's not doing a very good job. All you have to do is pick up the papers every day. 50,000 in Ohio, the great state of Ohio. 50,000 in another location, I think North Carolina. 500,000 applications in Virginia. No, there's a tremendous problem. But let me just tell you, they talk about the peaceful transfer, right? They spied on my campaign and they got caught, and they spied heavily on my campaign, and they tried to take down a duly elected sitting president, and then they talk about, will you accept a peaceful transfer? And the answer is yes, I will. But I want it to be an honest election, and so does everybody else. When I see thousands of ballots dumped in a garbage can and they happen to have my name on it, I'm not happy about that.
But just those are there is in fact no evidence of widespread fraud, and you were sowing doubt about our democracy.
How can you say that? You do read newspapers.
I do.
You do watch the news.
Yes,
I know you read the news,
do.
but you watch it.
I do.
Because every day they're talking about ballots that are corrupt, that are fraudulent.
And millions that are being processed right now.
But you can win a race. Take a look at me. You can win a race by 1%.
But why are you laying the groundwork for that right now? It's if I go play tennis with my husband and I say my ankle's hurting right now.
I don't want that to happen, Savannah. I want it to be clean. I really feel we're going to win. But I want this to be clean. But it's sort of ironic that you
Why do you really feel you're going to win, though?
About the peaceful transfer when I spent 3.5 years fighting off these maniacs, and now it turns out everything's there, that they were the ones that dealt with Russia. And it's too bad. But peaceful transfer, I absolutely want that. But ideally, I don't
know why you think you're going to win.
And I think that your words will probably reassure some folks. Let's get to our first voter. We've got Jacqueline Lugo. Now, she is, I told you this audience is truly split between y'all. You are leaning Biden. She voted for Clinton in 2016. She's registered as an independent. Jacqueline, what's your question for the president?
And
hold the mic up close and take off your mic because it's hard to hear out here.
You're saying 2016.
Good evening.
2016, we were like,
welcome to Miami.
Here.
It's beautiful.
Mr. President, if
this is
you
basically
knew
70-30.
COVID-19, as
and
you
Trump
told
had a
Bob
much
Woodward
clearer path
in
to victory.
February,
as what?
As you
in
told Bob
2016
Woodward
than he
in
does now.
February, was
That doesn't mean it can't happen.
airborne and deadlier than the flu. Why did you
I don't know,
only
guys.
put in
I
place
really think
a travel ban from China and
Biden
not put in
presidency.
place other measures mitigating the spread of COVID-19, potentially saving tens of thousands of American lives?
Well, I did put it in very early, as you know. Joe Biden was 2 months behind me, and he called me xenophobic
Trust me, I'm
and racist
too.
and everything else because I put it
about
in.
both of them.
And it turned out that I was 100% right. I also put it on Europe very early because I saw there was a lot of infection in Europe. And it's sort of an amazing question. And I appreciate the question and respect the question. But the news doesn't get out the right answer because I put on a travel ban far earlier than Dr. Fauci thought it was necessary, who I like, far earlier than the scientists. I was actually the only one that wanted to put it on, and I did it actually against the advice of a lot of people, including Nancy Pelosi, who had no clue what she was doing, and Biden. When I put on the travel ban, I put it on in January, the end of January. When I put on the travel ban, Joe Biden and others said, this is ridiculous. You don't do that. Well, Dr. Fauci said I saved thousands and thousands
everybody
of lives.
says Hillary was supposed to win, too.
I was extremely early when I put on the travel ban.
Can I ask you, did your national security advisor on January 28th in the Oval Office warn you that this would be the greatest national security
The number one thing in everybody's mind is coronavirus. That's what voters are most concerned with. And the majority of voters don't believe
it was a big threat. At the
President
same time,
Trump has handled it well.
Panic this country. I don't want to go out and say everybody's going to die.
People see the chaos that's going on, blah, blah, blah. People just think that,
there's not a middle ground.
Your average people are just going to think
that
that's
and you have to be smart.
You're going to like this next couple of voters. It's a mom and a daughter. Mom, Barbara, voted for you in 2016. She's leaning to vote for you again. Now, her daughter was too young to vote last time. She's going to vote for her first time in a presidential campaign, and she is leaning Biden. So imagine the dinner table at their house, okay? So, Barbara, why don't you go first and ask your question?
Bienvenido a Miami.
Thank you.
Mr. Trump, as a frontline ER doctor working through the coronavirus pandemic, I know firsthand, and I've seen that many hospitals throughout the United States are suffering financial hardships. These economic effects are trickling down to the frontline workers. We are being, across the country, frontline workers are being fired, they're being furloughed, our salaries are being cut. And this is also happening in other economic sectors as well, including the travel industry and hospitality. My question to you is, how are you going to get the United States back on track, both in terms of the economy and the pandemic?
So it's happening. We just set a record, 11.4 million jobs. We are going to have a phenomenal third quarter, which will be announced on November 1st, just prior to the big November 3rd day, where I think you're going to see a red wave. But we're going to have a tremendous announcement, I believe. I mean, we're going to find out. But GDP is going through the roof. Jobs, real estate, houses, so many things are happening. So people were saying we were going to have a 42% unemployment. Look, this was a thing that came into our country, and it happened more than 100 years ago, and it happened now. They were talking about a 42% unemployment rate.
Who was talking about that?
Exactly. Who is
at 7.8% unemployment.
30% was the highest that I heard, and I think we reached that.
Is going to be
I mean, we're pretty close.
If we don't have somebody that raises taxes and quadruples taxes, which they want to do and kills everything, our economy is going to be phenomenal next year. We're going to have a phenomenal. And I'll tell you, Savannah, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country last year, including the state of Florida, where we are now, and Pennsylvania, and North Carolina, and Ohio, every place. We had the greatest economy we ever had. We had to close it down. We saved 2 million lives. We're opening it up. We have a V-shape, and it's coming back. It's coming back very fast. One other thing, we really helped the hospitals. We've sent billions and billions of dollars to the hospitals. In addition, hundreds of millions of masks and gowns, and we went into the ventilator business because this country was not equipped with ventilators. And I'm not blaming anybody for it, but we're now making thousands of ventilators a month, and we have all we can use. We're sending them all over the world because the world needs them. So they've worked very hard and really very, very effectively. Thank you. Great question.
Let's talk to Isabella. Put the mic close to your mouth. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. President, my parents are, as you heard, both frontline healthcare workers, and I've seen the physical and the mental tolls that this pandemic has taken on them firsthand, as well as the exacerbation of coronavirus due to Americans who are not wearing masks or participating in social distancing. After contracting COVID-19 yourself, has your opinion changed on the importance of mask wearing?
No, because I was okay with the masks. I was good with it, but I've heard many different stories on masks. I mean, I had, being president, you have people, they bring meals, they bring this, and I had an instance recently where a very wonderful person is bringing me a meal, and he's playing with his mask, and he's touching his mask all over the place, and then he's bringing a plate in, and I'm saying, well, I don't know if that's so good. I mean, the good news, I didn't eat it, okay? I decided not to eat it. This was a month ago, but look, you have on the masks, you have two stories. You have a story where they want, a story where they don't want. I am all for it.
I don't get that, because it's just all of your public health officials, your administration, they're in unison about this. They're all in unison about it. The University of Washington, which is they have a model that your coronavirus task force relies on, says that if everyone wore a mask, you could cut expected deaths in half.
And then
60,000 lives. Well, what does that mean?
Scott Atkins, if you look at Scott, Dr. Scott, he's from great guys, Stanford. He will tell you
he's
that
not an infectious disease expert.
Oh, I don't know. Look, he's an expert. He's one of the great experts of the world.
But I don't get it, because you have so much power and influence as president. You could go to you could require it at your rallies, and you could say, everyone put on a mask right now. And the University of Washington says you would save lives.
University of Washington, then you have other places say different things. You have a lot. Hey, Dr. Fauci said don't wear a mask, right?
At first, but then everybody agreed.
No, I don't know. Then he changed his mind. But then you have a report coming out 2 days ago that 85% of the people wearing masks.
I looked at that report. It's not about mask wearing. It was neutral on the question of masks.
We're on the same side. I say wear the mask. I'm fine with it. I have no problem. We're on the same side.
Let's let's take a break. We're going to get more questions right after this.
Take a break. We're going to flip over to Joe Biden. Let's see what's
We're
going on.
going to go into a field of the future that's burgeoning, cybersecurity, and that's what's going to help a great deal. In addition to that, if you're a young man about to graduate, or you graduated from school and you want to own your first home, or well, it's awful hard to get the money, depending on the background. What your economic background is to get a down payment. So we're going to guarantee first-term home buyers a $15,000 down payment for first-term home buyers. In addition to that, what all the studies now show, and I've been arguing this for a long time, is young black entrepreneurs are just as successful as white entrepreneurs or anyone else given a shot. But you can't get the money. Where do you go to get the startup money? So what President Obama and I did, we had a program where we took $1.5 billion and we invested it in all the SBAs around the country, in the state SBAs, Small Business Associations, and that generated $30 billion came off the sideline, because if you have a guarantee of $200,000 for your new startup enterprise, young entrepreneur, you're going to be able to attract, if it's government money as a guarantee, you'll be able to attract another $100,000.
Where is everybody?
It generated $30 billion. Well, I'm changing that program, and I'll get this done without much trouble, I believe, in the Congress, from $1.5 billion to $30 billion to $30 billion. That'll take $300 billion off the sideline and grow, because you know. And for example, if you, in fact, and I were the same age, and we split our differences, and we were the same age, and we went to the same builder to buy us each the same home, but my home was in a white neighborhood on one side of a highway, and yours is in a black neighborhood. Same exact home.
Yeah, I agree.
Your home will start off being valued 29% less than my home.
I'm really not a supporter of
your
either.
insurance for that home will be higher.
Trump.
You'll be taxed more for it. We've got to end this. That's what got me involved in politics in the first place. Thing called redlining. We can change so much. That we can do so much to change the circumstances to give people a real opportunity.
Did you hear what you needed?
Not a good look.
Did you hear what you needed to hear?
It's not very professional.
I think so. Okay.
Well, there's a lot more. If you're going to hang around afterwards, I'll tell you more.
Okay. Let's get
No, but I really mean it. It is the key. Look, this is the way every other. How do most, like my dad? He lost his job up in Scranton. And it took him 3 years to be able. He moved down to Delaware, to Claymont, Delaware, a little steel town, and sent us home to our grandpop to live with him. We finally got back. We lived in apartments, became 6 and 8 housing. Much later, it wasn't. It was just normal apartments. But it took him 5 years to be able to buy a home.
We
bought a 3-bedroom home with 4 kids and a grandpop living with us. But it accumulated wealth. You built up wealth. That's how middle-class folks make it. They build up wealth. Then he was able to borrow a little against that to be able to help us get to school, those kinds of things. It's about accumulating wealth. And you're behind an 8 ball. The vast majority of people of color are behind an 8 ball. And it's the same way what's going on now with all this money that's been voted. What's happened? You go to the bank if you're a black businessman, and the president fired the only inspector general to oversee all this help coming from the Congress. And what happens? You go in and they say, do you have an account here? No. Do you have a credit card with this? No. Have you borrowed from us before? No. We bail these suckers out. They're not liable for any of the money. But they still won't rent it. They still won't lend it to you. We got to change that. It's about accumulating wealth.
Want to get another question in here from Angelica Politaros? No, not at all. Garnet Valley, Pennsylvania.
Hi.
Republican who voted for President Trump last time.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Vice President Biden. Nice to meet you. What's your view on the crime bill that you wrote in 1994, which showed prejudice against minorities? Where do you stand today on that?
Well, first of all, things have changed drastically. That crime bill, when it voted, the Black Caucus voted for it. Every black mayor supported it across the board. And it didn't. The crime bill itself did not have mandatory sentences except for 2 things. It had 3 strikes and you're out, which I voted against in the crime bill. But it had a lot of other things in it that turned out to be both bad and good. I wrote the Violence Against Women Act. That was part of it. The assault weapons ban and other things that were good. What I was against was giving states more more money for prison systems that they could build, state prison systems. And you have 93 out of every 100 people in jail now is in a state prison, not in a federal prison, because they built more prisons. I also wrote into that bill a thing called drug courts. I don't believe anybody should be going to jail for drug use. They should be going into mandatory rehabilitation. We should be building rehab centers to have these people housed. We should wipe out, we should decriminalize marijuana, wipe out the record so you can actually say in honesty, have you ever been arrested for anything? You can say no, because we're going to pass a law saying there is no background that you have to reveal relative to the use of marijuana. And so there's a lot of things, but in addition to that, we got to change the system. I joined with a group of people in the House to provide for changing the system from punishment to rehabilitation. Along with a guy named Arlen Specter, who you may remember, I wrote the Second Chance Act.
But in the meantime, an awful lot of
people
people
about to go to the Supreme Court to argue to throw out the rest of Obamacare, which includes the protections for pre-existing conditions.
That's right.
So your administration is in court right now trying to get rid of that protection.
In order to replace it with a much better health care at a much lower price, and always, under all circumstances, we are going to protect the Republicans. And I mean, maybe I changed the party a lot over the last 3 years, but we will protect people with pre-existing conditions. And Savannah, what I want to do, get rid of the terrible Obamacare. I've already done it to a large extent because, as you know, the individual mandate is gone. That was the worst part.
You repealed, but you haven't replaced. Now, you've been in office almost 4 years.
What we have done.
You had both houses of Congress, Senate and House, in Republican hands, and there is not a replacement yet.
That's right. I'm sorry, but if you look, we had both houses, and what did we do? We got rid of the individual mandate.
But
that went through the
promise
legislature.
was repeal and replace.
Look, we should be on the same side. I want it very simple. I'm going to put it very simple. We would like to terminate it, and we would like to replace it with something that's much less expensive and much better. We will always protect people with pre-existing conditions.
But if you're successful in court in November, those pre-existing conditions, that promise will be gone.
If we don't succeed, we are running the remnants of whatever's left, because we took it apart. We are running the remnants of whatever is left much better than the previous administration, which ran it very badly. But we'd like to have new health care, much better and much less expensive.
Let me get to question number 5, and you'll like this. He's stuck in traffic. His name is Joe White. He is registered as a Democrat. He says he's leaning toward Biden, and Biden had voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. And his question was, a second stimulus payment has been broadly agreed upon by the Republicans and Democrats, and yet now we're in October and it's still not passed. Why not use your office to make the second stimulus payment a separate targeted emergency relief package to help Americans weather the pandemic?
Well, we've actually passed 3 packages, and we're on our 4th, and I agree with him 100%. He should vote for me. The problem you have is Nancy Pelosi. She couldn't care less about the worker. She couldn't care less about our people, and we should have a stimulus, and I want a stimulus. The Republicans will approve a stimulus. The problem is she doesn't want to do it because she thinks it's bad for her election. The fact is she's wrong, because people know she's in our way. She's not approving it. She doesn't appreciate our people, and she doesn't appreciate at all our workers. Nancy Pelosi, we are ready to sign and pass stimulus, but she's got to.
People do not love the back and forth of Washington, but this has been a roller coaster. Back in early October, you one day tweeted, "No more negotiations until after Election Day. I'm walking away." Then I think the next couple of days you said, maybe we can do something targeted. Then you said, "I want a big, big bill." But then Senate Republicans said, "No, we're not for that." So you're the big deal maker. How come this is so, you yourself have changed positions?
Did you ever hear of a word called negotiation? We're negotiating, okay?
But people's lives are hanging in the balance.
And you know who I'm negotiating against? Nancy Pelosi, because she doesn't want to give the money. We should have stimulus. This was not our people's fault. This was China's fault. And she's penalizing our people. I'm ready to sign a big, beautiful stimulus. You saw the other day, I say, go big or go home, right?
That's what
I want it to be big. I want it to be bold. I want the money to go directly to the people. Are
Senate Republicans with you? They're going to go big?
They'll go.
Big old number?
They'll go. They're going to be very happy.
So far they have not said they would.
Because I haven't asked them to, because I can't get through Nancy Pelosi.
Okay.
If Nancy Pelosi and I, through my representatives or directly, I don't care, if we agree to something, the Republicans will agree to it.
Okay. Our next question comes from this is interesting. She voted for Clinton in 2016, but recently changed her registration from Democrat to independent. She says she's truly undecided. Her name's Becky Lightman. Hello, Becky. What's your question?
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Nice to see you. Thank you.
Good to see you. So, corporate tax rates are a hot button issue, and you have cut corporate tax rates, and your opponent Joe Biden is planning to raise them.
Right.
A lot of Americans think that corporations don't pay their share of taxes and want to see those tax rates increase. Right. What do you say to those Americans to maybe tell them why you want the corporate tax rate lower and why that helps them?
It's a great question. We've created more jobs than this country has ever created. We were up to 160 million jobs. We were never even close to that number. We were just hitting 160 million jobs. Companies are pouring into our nation because of the tax rate. And if Biden comes in and raises taxes on everybody, including middle income taxes, which he wants to do, you will blow this thing and you'll end up with a depression, the likes of which you've never had. That's what's going to happen. We have something that's really good. The reason we're coming back so strong is because we built a very strong foundation. Companies are moving in. Car companies are moving into Michigan, into Ohio, into South Carolina and North Carolina just today. So what's happening is they're coming in because we reduced the taxes. Our taxes, our corporate taxes, were the highest in the world, and now they're among the lower taxes. They're not the lowest, but they're among the lowest. And what that means is jobs. But also, we're doing a very big, and we've done a very big middle-income tax package. So if we get in, we're going to do the middle-income tax package. But it's a great question. And if he comes along and raises rates, all those companies that are coming in, they will leave the U.S. so fast your head will spin. We can't let that happen.
On the subject of taxes, as you know, the New York Times has obtained, it says, years of your tax returns, among other things. It says that you have debts of approximately $421 million that you have personally guaranteed and that will come due in the next 4 years. The question is, on behalf of voters, who do you owe $421 million
first of all,
to?
let me answer. What they did is illegal, number one. Also, the numbers are all wrong with the numbers they released. And just so you understand, when you have a lot of real estate, I have real estate, you know a lot of it, okay? Right down the road, Doral, big stuff, great stuff. I'm very when I decided to run, I'm very under-levered, fortunately, but I'm very under-levered. I have a very, very small percentage of debt compared, in fact, some of it I did as favors to institutions that wanted to loan me money. $400 million compared to the assets that I have, all of these great properties all over the world, and frankly, the Bank of America building in San Francisco. I don't love what's happening to San Francisco.
Well, do I hear you right? It sounds like you're saying $400 million isn't that much.
One of the biggest office buildings.
But are you confirming that yes, you do owe some $400 million?
What I'm saying is that it's a tiny percentage of my net worth.
That sounds like
you'll see that soon because we're doing things. You know, we've given, I think it's 108 or 112 pages of financial detail to elections, and you know we have to file as the president, as any politician, you have to file. Nobody ever looks at that. When they do, they see how incredible the company is, but more importantly,
doesn't look good.
They see where this debt is. No, I don't owe Russia money. I don't know. I owe a very, very small, it's called mortgages.
Yeah.
People have a house, they put a mortgage.
Any foreign bank, any foreign entity?
Not that I know of, but I will probably, because it's so easy to solve, and if you'd like to do, I will let you know who I owe whatever small amount of money. I want to say two things. Number one, it's a very small amount of money. Number two, it's very straight. It's very, very straight. But it's a tiny percentage of the worth. Did you ever hear the expression under-levered?
Yeah.
I am extremely under-levered.
Well, here's the thing. You could clear this up tonight by just releasing your tax returns yourself. I mean, that's what I don't understand. I think people are just wondering.
As you know,
you're
I'm
the
under
only.
audit. It turned out that I am under audit.
They
actually,
says
excuse me. No, but you
the
accused
IRS says that doesn't stop you from releasing.
You accused me of not being under audit previously, and so did other people at NBC. And I am under audit. So that was solved. That's good. I am under audit. No person in their right mind would release prior to working out the deal with the IRS. And I'll go a step further. I'm treated very badly by the IRS. They treat me very, very badly. You have people in there from previous administrations. They treat me very badly. But we're under audit. It's very routine in many ways, but we're under audit. They like to change the game, change the rules, do everything. You saw what they did with the Tea Party people. You saw what they did with the religious
But to be
group.
clear, there is no law or rule that prohibits you from releasing your tax returns.
Except common sense and intelligence and having lawyers that say, because I would love to release them, and as soon as we come to a conclusion, I will release them, and very gladly. But if you go to elections, and if you take a look, you'll see 112, I think it's 112. It talks about the income, which is rather massive. It talks about all of the properties. They have them listed. You can never learn more. But you know what happened? People went there. All the reporters went. There was like a feeding frenzy. This was originally when I filed it. And I filed it every year. I update it every year. My son is here. They run the company. I don't run the company.
It also says that you paid $750 in taxes in the year you were elected.
Yeah,
is that true or not?
That's a statutory number. It's a statutory.
But is that true?
I think it's a filing number. You pay $750. It's a filing or filing fee.
Most people here probably paid more.
No, I don't know. I can tell you this. If they have my tax returns, as you know, they have to go to jail. It's illegal.
Good question.
But their numbers were wrong. But let me tell you what else.
Doesn't seem like an actual town hall. Nobody.
I don't owe money to any of these sinister people. This has been going on for years now. Russia. It turned out to be a hoax. And it turned out to be that Hillary Clinton and the Democrats were dealing with Russia, not me. It's a whole hoax. So I would not mind at all saying who it is, but it's a very small. When you look at vast properties like I have, and they're big and they're beautiful and they're well located, when you look at that, the amount of money, $400 million, is a peanut. It's extremely underlevered. And it's levered with normal banks. Not a big deal.
All right, let's take a break. We'll get more voter questions right after this.
This is a situation where the state continues to struggle to expand its testing capabilities.
Protesters feel that they need to come out in full force and support their community because they feel like they're not getting that support from the Portland police.
Another election day coming up against the backdrop of how to keep voters safe amid a pandemic.
The moment to truly understand who we are and who we say we are is right here at our feet.
You got to get a four-year degree, but a four-year degree is super expensive. We have created a system where the ticket to the middle class is a thing that middle-class families have to stress about and borrow for and patch together.
Why is this happening? With Chris Hayes. Subscribe now.
You're watching NBC News Now. We've got some breaking news.
We actually saw a large convoy of the National Guard come through here.
It's news made for your streaming world. Live weekdays starting at 6 a.m. Eastern.
This morning across the country, what the new normal for schools will look like.
Many teachers left making tough choices between the job they love and their family.
What am I going to decide? Take care of my children or have a job?
That's an impossible decision.
You're creating a little community school. This is a moment where we can just develop ourselves and develop our community.
Let's turn it over to students. How do they really feel about returning to school?
What I miss is my teachers.
They are resilient.
A surge in coronavirus infection. New developments on several fronts.
The story.
Tonight, the U.S. shattering the record for most COVID cases in a single day.
From every angle.
What's your level of concern that the kids who have been told they're going to be home indefinitely won't be able to catch up?
See what's going on over here. Oh, wait, we've got another commercial break. All right, so far, this is just, you've got Joe Biden actually answering questions from people, from actual voters, and you have Trump and the moderator of the town hall on NBC just going back and forth. Like, it's just a complete just show, if you like. Like I said, I still don't see. I mean, the so-called silent majority is going to have to come out like crazy. That's what they keep saying. Let's go back to Trump.
Biden, Adam, take it away.
Thank you, Savannah. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Adam.
4 years ago, Senate leadership said it was inappropriate to push through a nominee in an election year. Yet they fast-tracked your nominee for the Supreme Court just today. The question I have for you is, what do you say to the voter that thinks it's hypocritical to act in that manner and that they can't trust Republicans' word?
So when I was elected and when a president is elected, they're elected for a period of 4 years. And Justice Ginsburg said it best, I think talking about President Obama having to do with somebody else, that the president is put there for 4 years, not for 3 years. So during this fourth year, it happened to come up, unfortunately, because I had great respect for Justice Ginsburg, but a vacancy happened to come up, and we picked somebody that's outstanding. She has been an absolute star, and I'm extremely proud of it. But again, plenty of time. I mean, there's plenty of time. We're going to do it before the election, but we also have much time after the election, but there's no reason to wait, because it's almost unanimous, it seems to me, certainly within the Republican Party, and frankly, most of the Democrats within closed rooms. I guarantee you that this is an outstanding person, and I'm using my fourth term. And you know, if you look at it, and if you put the shoe on the other foot, if they had this, they would do it 100%. So there's been 29 times when this has happened. All 29 times, a president has done exactly what I've done.
Can I just, to the voters' point, I'll just say that in 2016, you were on another show, actually another morning show, and you were asked whether President Obama should nominate a Supreme Court Justice Merrick Garland, and you said, I think the Senate should wait until the next president and let the president pick. Now, that was 8 months before the election. This is 3 weeks before the election.
I have a lot of respect, by the way.
So you have changed your position on this.
I have a lot of respect for Judge Garland, I want to tell you that. But I'll tell you, the whole ball game changed when I saw the way they treated Justice Kavanaugh. I have never seen any human being, and I'm not just talking about Supreme Court, I have never seen a human being treated so badly with false accusations and everything else. I have never seen anything like it. And you know what? The truth is, Savannah, like it or not, the ball game changed a lot. There has never been anybody treated so badly as now Justice Kavanaugh.
You've mentioned that you would like to see Amy Coney Barrett confirmed to the Supreme Court in case any challenges come up in connection with the election. Do you expect her to rule for you?
Don't remember what happened with Merrick Garland.
I don't think she has any conflict at all. You know, a Supreme Court judge does not have, I mean, they can make their own decision.
9 months outside of the election.
And they actually have additional power to make that decision. It would be totally up to her. I would think that she would be able to rule either for me or against me. I don't see any conflict whatsoever. We have an election coming up. I think it's the most important election in the history of our country. If for any chance, and it probably won't, and I hope it doesn't ever get to the Supreme Court, but if it did, I would think that she would rule one way or the other. I would think so.
But for you think she would rule for you?
I have no idea.
I mean, of course she'll rule one way or the other, but
believe it or not, I never asked her about it. I never talked about it. I didn't talk about any of the obvious things that you could talk about, and I think a lot of people in my position might. But in speaking to a lot of very brilliant people and people that do this for a living, they say it's better not to talk. So I talked to her about life. I talked to her about the fact, would you like to do this? Are you willing to do this? Because it's a tremendous burden. The answer was yes. She's unbelievably well qualified, but I never spoke to her about these various questions.
Let's get our next voter. She's leaning to you, Mr. President. She voted for you in 2016. She is a registered Republican. Her name is Mariah Green. Mariah, what's your question?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President. I'm honored to be with you here tonight, sir, so thank you. I'm a pro-life millennial, and my question for you today is, if Roe v. Wade is ultimately overturned in the future, what protections would be put in place or kept for where the mother's life is in jeopardy in relation to high-risk pregnancies?
Well, again, I'm not ruling on this, and Roe v. Wade is something that a lot of people would say, obviously, you're going to speak to somebody. I also, two other great justices, Justice Gorsuch and Justice Kavanaugh. I never spoke to them about Roe v. Wade. I never spoke to them about election laws. I never spoke to them about anything. And I've done the right thing from a moral standpoint. I don't even know from a legal standpoint, but it was the right thing. I think, depending on what happens with Roe v. Wade, I think that perhaps it could get it sent down to the states, and the states would decide. I also think perhaps nothing will happen. I have not talked to her about it. I think it would be inappropriate to talk to her about it. And some people would say you can talk to her about it. I just think it would be inappropriate.
But what is your preference? Because it agreed that's not something you should talk to the judge about. But would you like to see Roe versus Wade overturned?
I would like to see a brilliant jurist, a brilliant person who has done this
I did not know
in
that.
great depth and has actually skirted this issue for a long time, make a decision. And that's why I chose her. I think that she's going to make a great decision. I did not tell her what decision to make, and I think it would be inappropriate to say right now, because I don't want to do anything to influence her. I want her to get approved, and then I want her to go by the law, and I know she's going to make a great decision for our country.
You running as a pro-life Republican, most pro-life Republicans would like to see Roe v. Wade overturned and abortion banned.
Many of them would.
What do you
Perhaps
think?
most of them would. I am telling you, I don't want to do anything to influence anything right now. I don't want to go out tomorrow and say, oh, he's trying to give her a signal, because I didn't speak to her about it. I've done the right thing in so doing. How she's going to rule, you're going to find out perhaps, or you might not find out. I mean, it may never get there. It may never get there. We'll see what happens.
All right, we have another question. This is Cindy Velez. She is undecided. She says she's leaning to Biden, and she did vote for Clinton in 2016. She's registered as a Democrat.
Oh, hey, Matt.
Cindy, what's your question?
Good evening, Savannah. Good evening,
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
As the mother of a young male
but I guess
of
not.
color, I have raised him to respect authority, not only because it's the right thing to do, but also out of fear that he may face profiling or be considered a criminal. As an educator, I've also had similar conversations with my high school students. Mr. President, what will you and your administration do to better prepare our law enforcement officers to work in collaboration with the communities that they serve, and also to protect the lives of innocent Black and Latinos from police brutality and injustice?
Right. I fully understand the question, and I saw everything that you saw over the summer, and it was a terrible thing to watch. We were very strongly, we have a senator named Tim Scott from South Carolina. He came up with a bill that should have been approved. It was great. It was a bill that was strong in terms of law enforcement and strong in terms of enforcing the proper thing and doing the proper thing by law enforcement. And the Democrats just wouldn't go for it. They wouldn't go for it at all. And I don't know why, because it was a really great bill. But I do have to say this. And some people don't like it when I say it, but a lot of people agree. I have done more for the African-American community than any president, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln. Criminal justice reform, prison reform, historically Black colleges and universities. I got them funded. They were on a year-to-year basis. They could have been put out of business. As soon as our country had a little bad year, they would have said, I'm sorry, we're not going to fund you. I got them 10-year funding and financing, and more than I even asked for. I became very friendly with a lot of the heads. But we've done more, and of course, opportunity zones. But criminal justice reform, everybody said it could not be done. President Obama and Biden never even tried to do it. They never even tried. But I say that, and I say it often. I'll say it loud, and I'm very proud of it. And I have a great relationship because of what I've done with the African-American community. I'm very proud of it.
I heard the
Let's go to our
sound.
next question. We have Paulette Dale. She leans slightly to Biden. She voted for Clinton in 2016. She's registered as a Republican. Paulette, what's your question?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
I have to say, you have a great smile.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Wow.
he
Someone's a
does.
groupie.
You're so handsome when you smile. Okay. As the daughter of immigrants to the United States who fled Eastern Europe due to religious persecution, the United States immigration policies are very personal for me.
Right.
That's hilarious.
Surveys show that most Americans and the majority of Republicans
I legit thought she was
support
gonna say,
the
survey
Dreamers
says.
program. So my question for you, Mr. President, is if you are elected to a second term, do you expect to pursue your previous efforts to cut the DACA program?
Yeah.
Why or why not?
And the DACA is somewhat different than Dreamers. You understand that, and you understand it better than anybody probably in this room. Where do you come from, by the way, originally? Where?
My grandparents were from Russia and Poland.
That's very good. Okay. So we are going to take care of DACA. We're going to take care of Dreamer. It's working right now. We're negotiating different aspects of immigration and immigration law. We've built now over 400 miles of border wall, southern border. Mexico is working very closely with us. We have the strongest border we've ever had. We want people to come into our country. They have to come in legally. But we are working very hard on the DACA program, and you will be, I think, very happy over the course of the next year.
Thank you.
Because I feel the same way as you do about it.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, in point of fact, the DACA program, there are, under your administration, no new applicants are allowed. And in fact, the DACA recipients now have to renew every year as opposed to every 2 years. So in fact, the DACA program has been curtailed by your administration.
Well, what happened is because of the pandemic, much changed on the immigration front. Mexico is heavily infected, as you know, and we've made it very, very difficult to come in because of the pandemic and other reasons, and crime. But we have a very strong border right now, and we have to keep it that way. But we want people to come into our country, but they have to come in through a merit system, and they have to come in legally. And people are very, very happy with it. You haven't heard any complaints about that. But what happened is because of the pandemic, we have to be extra cautious.
You have been promising this immigration bill since, well, at least July, when you told my colleague on Telemundo it was coming, but nothing's come yet.
It's very happy. The fact is, we got rid of catch and release, which is a disaster. You know, you catch somebody, they could be a murderer, they could be a rapist, and we're supposed to release them into our country. These are the laws that I inherited. We ended that program. Now, I think you're going to see something very, very good. The whole immigration, if you look at what's going on, people used to pour into our country, and especially during the pandemic. I think even you, Savannah, will be very impressed.
Sir, we have about 30 seconds left. I think about people sitting out there tonight. There are some who love you. Some of them are sitting right around here, and some who will never vote for you. But there are people in the middle. There are people who aren't sure.
That's right.
There are people who want to know why they should give you a second chance and how you might improve in a second term. 30 seconds, what would you say to them?
Because I've done a great job. We had the strongest economy in the world. We closed it up. We are coming around the corner. The vaccines are coming out soon, and our economy is strong. We are at a level with jobs like we've never been before.
It's weird. Like, I changed
We've rebuilt our military.
So
we've rebuilt our borders. We had no borders. We had no nothing. We've rebuilt so much. We've given you the greatest tax cut in the history of our country, greatest regulation cut, equally as important. And we created new levels of jobs that nobody thought was possible. And next year is going to be better than ever before.
I got to leave it there. I got a wrap from the control room. Mr. President, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to the voters' questions. That concludes our town hall. We do want to thank the president again, as well as our audience in hot Miami and all of you watching at home. And a reminder, Donald Trump and Joe Biden are scheduled to meet in person a week from tonight in Nashville, a second and final presidential debate moderated by our own Kristen Welker.
Hey, I mean, I appreciate it. So, either way. Oh my God. Okay. Well, you know, let's see some reactions. Let's see some Twitter reacts. See what the Twitterverse be saying. I can never eat on camera. I'll always eat on camera. I don't care. I do what I want. No one cares. Trump announces white supremacy. Oh, God, let's see what Breitbart says.
I think yes, I do accept.
Do you accept that COVID-19 is infectious?
I think yes, I do accept that.
Okay, I already know what happens here. So she asked her if she thinks COVID-19 is infectious. She says yes because it's scientific fact. She asked her if
causes cancer.
the smoking causes cancer.
I'm
She
not
says
sure exactly where you're
yes.
going with this, but you know, the notice that
It's
smoking
just a
causes.
question. The question is what it is. You can answer it if you believe.
Because it's scientific
yes or
fact.
no.
Senator Harris,
She
yes,
asked
every
her
package of
if
cigarettes
climate change is
warns
caused
that
by
smoking
man.
causes
The
cancer.
answer is yes,
And do you
because
believe
it's
that climate
scientific
change
fact.
is happening and it's threatening the air we breathe and the water we drink?
Well, actually,
Senator, again, I was wondering
me
where you were
rephrase.
going with that. You have asked me a series of questions like that are completely uncontroversial, like whether COVID-19 is
Yeah, they're
infectious,
uncontroversial
whether smoking causes
because
cancer, and then trying to analogize that to eliciting an opinion on me that is a very contentious matter, opinion from me that is on a very contentious matter.
the reason they're not controversial is because people used to believe in science. But now they're controversial because people no longer believe in science, or at least, half the population no longer believe in science. People see that the climate is changing, but you have some people believing that has little to do with man or nothing to do with man. And then you have people that believe in the science that shows that man clearly has played a role and that the global temperature has raised dramatically ever since the Industrial Revolution. Correlation does not always equal to causation, but when you have periods where you see CO2 levels doing this, and then the Industrial Revolution happens, and then it does this, and climate change and global warming spikes dramatically and starts doing things that it's not supposed to do naturally, you can only attribute that to man-made climate change. But I don't understand why Republicans or conservatives try to fight this. I'd figure just let the free market start creating things that help with climate change. Don't just sit by the wayside and let things happen. It's ridiculous. But hey, no, it's not mac and cheese. It's corn, mashed potatoes, and country fried chicken. Country fried steak. Chicken steak? I don't know. It's good. Good old Southern meal. Speaking of Southern, I just found out today that in my home state of Tennessee, that listing COVID as a reason for your mail-in ballot is not a good enough reason, and you have to go in. You still have to vote in person. Legit. You can't just say, "Oh, I don't want to vote in person because of COVID," because Tennessee says, "Well, that's not a legit reason. You still got to vote in person." It's ridiculous. That's called voter suppression. You should be able to vote however you want to vote. It doesn't matter. You should be able to vote as long as you're doing it legally. It shouldn't matter. Well, sorry, Rent. I don't know how to change that. If it's a 3-minute delay, that's crazy. I was wondering why. I knew it was going to be some kind of late, but I have no idea how to change that. Maybe that's why it's been so crappy. Oh, I'm sorry. Did this hurt your feelings? Hold on. Oh, I love it. Just jokes. Look at this. See, that's one thing I don't understand. Like, why at the beginning of the like pandemic, if Trump would have came out and been like, look, everybody wear a mask. Just go to Trump.com, Trump2020.com, buy my Trump 2020 mask, and we're all going to live, and we're all going to vote, and we're all going to be great. See, this is the reason why Trump is, by the polls, losing this senior vote by like 20 points, which is insane. I would have never thought that, seeing as how seniors predominantly vote Republican, predominantly watch Fox News, but for some reason they're breaking for Biden. Like, it's crazy. But like, just like, if Trump would have just came out and been like, I've got masks on the website, I'm selling them, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care. To me, that would have been a logical and responsible thing to do. But he would rather play strongman, like the little authoritarian dictator that he is. That's such a funny word, dictator. I think they came up with that on purpose. It's terrible. I love how this is whatever. I do not propose banning fracking. Brianna Joy over here. Oh wait, is that really? Yeah. Joe Biden wants community fracking. I mean, fracking's not that bad, right? Like, I don't know. I find it hard to believe that Amy Coney Barrett will be an impartial Supreme Court justice. That's just me, though. Arctic sea ice has shrunk to almost historic levels. That's wonderful. Anyway, seems like both town halls were just... I think we would have been better off with a debate. Hopefully they will have their second debate. I guess hopefully they'll have that one without either of them being children about this whole thing. But I mean, I understand Biden's standpoint. I mean, Trump just had COVID, so it's like, and how are you supposed to believe that he's testing negative? I'm sorry. How are you supposed to believe it? He didn't even know he had COVID. Anyway, guess I'm gonna hop off of here, finish eating. I appreciate the participation. I appreciate the subscriptions. If you would like to subscribe, just click the link below and subscribe to the channel. I am very new to this, so, but I feel like I'm having fun. So as long as I'm having fun, I guess that's all that matters. So I love you guys. Thanks for watching, and my political mind is out. Later.